Hi everybody and welcome back to ASC 104 Introduction to Sociology. So we will try right now to record the lectures and alhamdulillah, everything will work much better. That means you will always have access to these links. So today we are going to cover the research methods, and it's extremely important for you to actually pay attention to this. You will be allowed to have a group work with your students, and I'm going to try to don't keep my lectures more than 20 minutes, minimum 15 minutes. So for this class, why do we actually use research methods? It's not just for this class, but yeah, for this class, you will be required to use research methods and do your own field work. We need to get objective information where we are not biased, and we need to have as accurate information as possible. This has to do with facts. And research methods also provide limitation and boundaries when we focus on one particular topic. So as I told you, the second week of classes, when I told you what the sociology does and why do we bother to learn this, is that we should not put our opinions on a topic that our opinions might be wrong. So not wrong, maybe with prejudice. The idea is to get facts. That's the most important part in sociology and any other social science or science in the world. So the scientific method, that it helps us to study the society and study humans. This is what we're doing in sociology and of course other social scientists, but we're going to focus on studying humans specifically in like your urban areas or bigger societies, not small tribal societies. Well, obviously you cannot really answer my question. So we have two types of research that we're going to learn in this class and that you're going to be required to do on your own field work. So 50% of your grade for this class is your field work. 20% will be final presentation, a video presentation, and the other 30% is going to be a final report. And this will be kind of the first introduction to the final report and the field work in general. This is what you're supposed to do with your group. So the quantitative, I actually added the slides. You have access to them on the course materials on the portal. The quantitative are a large number of subjects, like a survey usually. That I gather is first, then it's analyzed, a statistical analysis. We have to do with numbers, usually bigger numbers. We have to test hypotheses and theories. You are not required to find other theories related to your topic, but you are required to have 2 academic articles. The academic articles means that you have to find them through Google Scholar or you have to find them to the library at AUE. You cannot, find Golf News. That's not an academic article. That's a regular article. So the qualitative research really focus on more naturalistic settings, and it focuses more on describing what you see in. You can do audio or text or video. That obviously you cannot add them into the conversation, but I do require you, if you use a survey or interview or experiment, to actually add to the end of the report. I'm going to require for you to add the survey or the interview or the link of the survey that you had. So all of these have to be added to the report. Usually a qualitative is used when we have a smaller number of targeted participants, and this will probably be your case, as I only require 20 surveys. If you do a survey on only 1 interview per group member. So if you have four people in your group, that means you're going to have 4 interviews, and then together you have to meet and analyze this information and add them to the report. The report is going to be individual. Each person has to write their own report. You will need to find a sample. Oh my God. You will need to find a sample, which means it's going to be a very small number of people, but that could be representative to a larger population. So if you're going to decide to do research with elderly people, then you're going to, like older people in the population, then obviously you cannot choose children. You can only choose people over 60. That's considered to be an older person based on the UIE. So you can only choose like 4 people that you're going to interview who are going to be over 60 to see the things that they might have in common. A random sample, it might just mean that you're going to randomly find these people who are over 60. So they don't have to be from the same street or from the same neighborhood. They just have to be over 60 and they just have to be in UAE, for example. Snowball sample, you can choose your participants through acquaintances. This is actually very, very used in this class. A lot of the students create the survey and then they just send them to their friends or families. So you're welcome to do that. But obviously, you still have to have a sample. So you cannot say, hey, anybody can answer this. No, if you're going to study the effect of online learning or distance learning on the students, you can only university students, and you can only interview or send a survey to university students. Otherwise, it will be, if you're going to send it to anybody who's in primary school or middle school or kindergarten, it will be not a very representative sample of this larger population. I want to say, do you have any questions? So we're going to speak about 5 different, I do have it. We have 5 different sociological research methods that we're going to discuss today, and you are required to have at least 2 sociological research methods for your field work. We're going to have the survey first, which is a series of questions about behavior and opinions. You can create the surveys with SurveyMonkey or ProQuest. You should have access to it through a portal, to the library. You're welcome to use Google Forms, whatever you're familiar with. I'm pretty open to anything, to be honest. So this is a sample of a survey, and I wanted to kind of show you, this is the survey. It's just yes or no. I actually require you to kind of avoid yes or no answers, to actually have more complex answers with multiple questions, multiple answers, or with an open-end question. This is a quantitative research where you can actually see a graph, and based on this survey, you can see the results. If you use any of the things that I already mentioned, a Google form, SurveyMonkey, or what else I said, ProQuest, they're gonna automatically create this cool statistics for you that you can add to your presentation and to your report. These are another graph that, again, it can be done with the three options that I gave you. An interview is a one-on-one conversation between the researcher and the subject. If you do create an interview, I do require you to record the person, but only if they approve. We are going to have an entire class on ethics. So we're going to talk about how exactly to behave for your research. Obviously, it's a project that maybe is not going to go further away from this class. Maybe it will. We'll see. We don't know. I had someone in this class who actually interviewed a 5-year-old during the presentation, in their video presentation. And even though that was super adorable, that was probably not extremely ethical, because a 5-year-old doesn't really have the right legally to consent, and she probably didn't understood who's going to watch her. And so we always have to be careful with who are we interviewing, and how, if they actually understand what's the consequences or what's happening to their interview. Participant observation, unfortunately, you will not be able to do that, because you need to actually join. For this class, I usually require people to do a 4.5 hours of volunteer work, and that's how this class kind of came to be what it is now. But because of the COVID-19, you cannot do any participation. So you will have to join the group of people that you sample. Like, let's say you choose elderly people, so then you're gonna do volunteer work for 4 hours. You're gonna go with your group members to a nursery home, or we have with the government of Dubai, there is a Walif program They have houses specifically where elderly people are coming and joining and having different events. So the students could have done that. I don't think this is happening anymore right now. The only thing that you could probably do here, you can watch documentaries, but that could probably still go under the literature review. So this will be a tough one, except if this is your work and you still go to work, like if you work in the airport and you're gonna talk about illegal immigration, or if you're gonna talk about illegal products that are brought here in Dubai, we'll talk about it. Secondary analysis is based on sources written by others. Exactly what I said, you will be required 2 academic articles to have for this class, or 4 non-academic articles. So if you do anything with COVID-19, then probably you're going to have a little bit less sources than if you're doing something that is not as new as that. Experiments, probably you're not going to do this. Experiments are mostly used by psychologists, mostly, not as much as by sociologists. So again, I don't think you're going to be able to do any experiments. This is probably, the experiments are usually controlled in the lab. It's very, very difficult to work with humans, more difficult to do that. So yes, the Stanford Prison Experiment, I did wanted to share this with you. I do have a link that it's under the notes. In the 1970s, this psychology professor, they did ask for anybody who would like to join their experiment in psychology, and this was their research question. They wanted to understand how quickly do people actually conform to roles of guards or prisoner in a role-playing exercise that stimulates prison life. So this is the psychologist Zimbardo, who was interested to find out whether the brutality reported among guards in the United States was due to the sadic personalities, like being just sadic from Satan, or it had to do with the prison environment. So he actually took these students. It was at Stanford. It was a real experiment, and they did. I think 2 years ago this movie came out, or last year. No, sorry, 2015. So this movie came out, and it's actually as accurate as it could be about the experiment. And in less than a week, the students actually became, these were students like you, college students, and they became quite aggressive with the people who were inmates. And the inmates changed even their personalities, became very humble, became very subordinate. So this was extremely unethical, especially because the teacher did not actually stop the experiment because he really wanted to understand what's happening. People were affected psychologically by this. So as social scientists, we can have a huge impact, negative impact on the people that we're interviewing. And I will explain again on the ethics about how you probably could consider, of course, I could not do anything like this. I could not harm anybody. But we're going to talk about how unintentionally you might do that, even for a college project like this. These are the research steps that you're going to also find in your readings. You're going to have to ask a question. Today, you're going to have the chance to meet with your group members and then really think about some of the things that you might be interested in. And I do require students to look at their connections and their wasta and their whatever they're working, and then maybe consider a topic that it's easy for them to reach. You have to look at the existing sources, the 2 academic papers. You have to formulate a research question. You have to design and conduct a study. You have to draw conclusion and report results. I will stop here and I will create another video. This is what we're gonna have to try to do today with your group members.